Welcome back to the Orange Bumper Podcast here in wonderful Citrusafe Studios. We've got a very exciting guest this week, one that I get the pleasure to watch just about all the Cars Tour races. Bert and I would like to welcome in Mr. Eric Brennan.
Hey, how's it going? Good morning.
Just tickled to be here. Yeah. I'm glad to finally have a professional voice on one of these microphones. You know, Bert and I stumble through this thing, and we do we're doing an okay job, I guess, according to the ratings. But
I gotta say, like, I went back and listened to a whole bunch of shows, and I've been following, and the social media content's awesome. The growth from when you guys started to the last episode that you did, and I was all in on the Tony Uri Jr. episode because you touched on everything, and he's so plugged in. But from quality, from content, I mean, I can't believe how quickly you've built all of this, and it sounds great, and it's just awesome.
Thanks.
Well, that's as much as I wish. I was going to say, as much as I wish that Bert and I could take credit for that, the guy that you all don't see,
and too,
is
like
the one
when we
that
first
has done that.
started, we had different mics and we had our headsets.
Well, we started in your shop.
Yeah, but I mean, like in here, even.
Yeah.
And then Tommy said, "No, we need another mic. We need these mics. We need this." And Devin got a soundboard, and so I mean, it's evolved. But
Well, and that's one of the awesome.
I don't think about it that way. It's kind of like going to the racetrack. You just do your job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
But it looks like you've been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, like it's wild.
Well,
thanks, man.
Devin's sitting back there. He's the mastermind behind all of it. He keeps us squared away. And to your point, Tommy and everybody at Citrusafe, just the way they run their business is, you know, if you want to do things correctly, do it correctly the first time.
Yeah, I think I heard him tell Devin, if we need this camera, get it. If we
Right.
need this mic, get it.
Right.
We're not going to do it halfway. So
It shows.
thanks,
Well,
man.
I appreciate that. Coming from you, that means a lot. So I'm interested to talk about Tri-County.
All right.
I was in a deer stand watching the race. I think I spooked some deer the last two laps. Almost fell out. But man, your car looked good in Tri-County.
It was good, man. I mean, I've been saying for the last several weeks, we were really good at Franklin County. The field was so tight, and with help from PSR here lately, has been giving me some good information, and Rhinestone has kind of had a hand. I've talked to Tony Jr. a little bit. So that's one of the cool things about racing is I've always been the guy that if somebody came up to me and asked me a question about a car or setup or a line to run, you know, I've always been very willing to offer information, you know, and so it's really cool that the people that I mentioned and some more have offered some information. Like PSR can go test and have the resources to go test where I don't have as many resources as they do. So when they learn a few things, they share it with their other PSR cars. And obviously they're not going to give away everything, and I don't blame them.
No.
Because we're still racing against each other. But just the few little things that I've gathered here and there, we got off a little bit. And we've been really good. We were good at, like I said, at Franklin County. There was no transponders at the test at North Wilkesboro. So we were using stopwatches, and some of us clocking on the back stretch, some are clocking on the front stretch. But from what I saw, we were a little faster, not by much, but fastest car there. So we knew we had a really good package because I feel like Wilkesboro and Tri-County are a lot alike. I was trying to explain to Slate. 1 and 2 at Wilkesboro is kind of like 3 and 4 at Tri-County. The way you kind of hit the berm, I call it. So we knew we were going to be pretty good. We unloaded at Tri-County on 60-lap tires, and I think we were right outside the top 5 on the 60-lap tires. We had mocked up at the Wilkesboro test and put 3 laps on a set of stickers. So that's what we were going to mock up on at Tri-County. I'm not big on, and a lot of it's because of resources, but it's hard to justify always putting on stickers, putting on 2 sets of tires a week.
Yeah.
And so we got 3-lap tires from North Wilkesboro. That'll be enough to get us in the top 5. Because they do the reverse qualifying order from practice. So we go out and I run a 77 we put 2/10 on the field on those 3-lap tires. And at the very end, I think Newman went out on the set of stickers and bumped us to second. But I knew we had a really good car and qualified on the pole and redrew 5th. And as the race got going there, I was like, man, the car's just going away from me. What's the deal here? So I'm trying to move around and change my line and do a few things from in the seat to make the car better. And we had to do stage break. and everybody in front of me stayed out. And I'm following the field, and I look in the mirror, and there's nobody behind me. So from basically sixth on back, I think 2 cars stayed out. And I told Jamie on the radio, I said, we just blew it. We just lost this race. And that was at lap 30. So at lap 54-ish, I think it was, another caution comes out, and we pit, and we come out 20th. And I ain't gonna lie, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, no matter how good this car is, this field is so tight. And
there were a lot of cars there.
It was 28 cars, and the field is so tight, the competition is so tight. And the way that track is, it's kind of like a Franklin County or a Wilkesboro, where you got a lot of speed, so there's not a lot of fall off too. So I'm thinking, if we get a top 10, you know, if I can get the 10th, you know, as bad as I hate to admit it, this will be a decent day.
Right.
So next thing you know, I see Newman and the 7 and some of those guys that were ones that already pitted that were kind of up towards the front. And next thing you know, I'm start passing them. I'm like, man, this thing's pretty good. And we drove up to the top 5, and I'm thinking, you know, well, if we keep running here, you know, top 5's all right. But the car's really, really good. And then I got the second, and the caution came out. I said, man, this is our race.
Yeah.
This is our race. The 15 car hadn't pit. My car is really, really good. And I said, this is our race. And then anybody who watched the race saw what happened after that. But not going to dig too deep into it. The bottom line is Carson did what he had to do to win that race. And he had it in his mind. He was going to do what he had to do to win that race. I think he said that his push to talk button broke. If his listening device had broke, he might have done things a little differently. But he did what he had to do, and that's in victory lane. You saw the chaos that went on, and I take responsibility for that because I never cussed him. I never said anything. I clapped at Carson, and I said, I hope you're proud. I hope you're happy with what happened. But I know that initiated my group because I've always said, stay in our pit, stay cool, unless I don't. And then you have permission to to back me up, I guess. But then at that point is when I got everybody back. But, you know, it's racing. It's racing. As long as you know that if you race a guy that way, you got to expect it back. And as long as he's good with that, you know, I'm disappointed because we didn't win. I think it was our race to win.
I think you clearly had the best car.
Yeah, how I don't know, but the strategy worked. The right rear took off on the first stops. Our stagger went nuts. So when we pit the second time, we put a right rear on and made some adjustments to tighten the car. I said, just tighten it up. Right. Tighten it up. I'd rather be tight than loose at this point because the car was really, really loose. And man, it set it on fire. It set it on fire. The comical thing is, I'm gonna tell you this. I texted you guys in the group with Devin and Tommy and you in the group text and said, don't send me anything. Don't show me anything. For the last 4 days, I've been off of social media, and it's probably some of the best mood I've been in a long time. And it's because, you know, obviously you get screenshots from people and stuff like that. And one comment was, you know, that, well, I don't want to get into it. I better not get into it. But anyway, one of the comments was just mind blowing of like, this is not even comprehensible. Like this comment makes absolutely no sense. I know that. And a lot of my fans and friends and family, whatever, know that. But when you still hear it and you see it and you hear other people chime in, the peanut gallery, it's like, what is wrong with you people? You know? Well, and I know everybody's going to see it differently, right? You know, you watch a game. We've talked about this before. You watch a game. You're a Duke fan. You watch a game against Duke and Carolina. And it's a blatant foul against Duke, but the Carolina fans sometimes do. Oh, why'd they call that foul?
Right.
So I get that. But at the same time, I'm just, it's comical at this point about how dirty Burt Myers is and how I rough people up and how I dish it out but can't take it. I can't think of anybody, and I'm not going to say there's not one or two in certain circumstances, but I can't think of anybody that I have deliberately moved on purpose violently in 10 plus years.
Moving is fine.
So what that's comical to me is, and I think anybody that knows me by now knows that I race you the way I want to be raced. And when I get raced a certain way, I'm going to give it back to you. And a perfect example, and we've talked about it on here, and I've talked about it with Brandon Ward. First race of the year, Brandon did what he had to do.
100%.
He had fresh tires on, last lap of the race. He shot me off down in the corner. He wins the 200 lapper. I told him I'm not mad. Just I was the first one to his win
Right.
on the scales. I said, congratulations. But when I do it back, don't be mad. He said, fair enough. So for my 100th win, I catch him, I move him out of the way. And I was pretty rough with him, but I didn't wreck him.
You didn't wreck him.
But it's because I drove him that way because he drove me that way.
Right.
That's the way I race people. So that being said, we're going to move on. North Wilkesboro's this weekend. Like I said, we were really good in the test. And the way the car's been driving lately, I love North Wilkesboro. And as some of the other Myers family will remind me, I'm the only Myers that's raced at North Wilkesboro that hasn't won at North Wilkesboro. So from Bobby to Billy to my dad to Jason. So
I think Slate's even gotten a pole there.
Slate's got a pole there.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm
not trying to-
Slate hasn't raced there in a tour mod, so he got a pass on the not
Right.
winning yet. But the goal is to go get an elevator ride this weekend. Yeah.
Well, from somebody that's been around with you and your team for a long time, and I try to be very, I don't want to say withdrawn, but not openly critical and judgmental about things. I have my opinions, but I try and see things from both sides.
Right.
And this is just me talking. I'm not asking anybody to agree with me. It seems like to me with the younger generation, I think your son might have part of this in him also.
I'm sure he does.
Winning is more important than how you win. And I will say
When
that.
I was younger, I thought that same way
Okay,
too.
and that's where I'm going with this. Nobody is here to say that you are an innocent driver from the past.
Right.
But, it was like we were talking before we started recording, phone call I got from a retired Cup Series champion about something that had nothing to do with racing or anything. And we got talking about, racing, and he said, I watched the race this week. And he said, man, the only thing I can say about that move is, you want to get away from Bowman Gray, you got to stop doing Bowman Gray things. And I like Carson.
Yeah.
I like Carson a lot.
Seems to be a good kid.
I want to.
I think he's got some bad influence in his ear, and I think because it was me. But I will say this: even though I was a bonehead when I was younger, and my goal was to win no matter what, the last thing I would do was run into a veteran. I just and the times are different, and generations are different, and mentalities are different.
Well,
it's funny because I didn't even realize it till Slate reminded me. I don't even know who I did an interview with. And I said, the problem is these kids nowadays are used to Control Alt Delete. Crash them up, Control Alt Delete. And he said, Dad, we don't do Control Alt Delete. That's what we did to reset it. You did Control. But anyway, that's the mentality now,
I think racing, especially from a grassroots level, needs the likes of Carson and Luke Baldwin, Slate. Pick your generation of
Carter.
kids.
There's a handful out there, man,
Racing
that's got
needs
some-
them
Yeah.
to be successful. Because in a day where, you have people that just show up and get rides with money, kids that have started young and worked their way up, they need it.
Yeah.
I think racing needs it. And I want to see Carson succeed. I'll be one of his biggest fans. My dad used to do some sponsorship with his grandfather.
Mm-hmm. I remember when Bobby raced against my dad when I was a kid.
Yeah, I don't.
They go way back.
I don't hold a steering wheel, so I don't get as, I guess, emotionally tied as you do. Even though I understand why you do.
Right.
I want to see him succeed, but I will say, just from a fan's perspective and somebody that does respect his accomplishments, I was disappointed in the way that went down. But
I'll add to that. I love Carson. Since the day I met him when he made his smart debut at Dominion, kid has a great attitude, comes from a great family. Really good kid to be around. He's been really impressive in his rookie season, a late model stock car. Almost every track he's gone to, he's never raced a full-bodied stock car before. It's always been a modified, either tour mod or crate mod. The one thing, and this isn't just for Carson in my opinion, but this is for all drivers, not only are you going to remember what happened, but everyone else who watched that race or watched the end of that race is going to remember that happened. He's racing for Rookie of the Year on the Cars Tour side this weekend. If he's in a position where he's in a battle for the win or for a spot that matters, I think, especially with this generation, everyone's seen that clip by now. They may think, I know what Carson's willing to do.
That's a good point.
I could do it to him,
Right.
even if it's not you in
Or
that
do
situation.
I try to pass this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That in my mind as a driver, that's what I think.
Like, I think
Well, I saw what he did to Burt. Man, do I try to pass this guy or did I just nudge him out of the way?
Yeah, when I first started watching cup racing, like Jeff Burton was synonymous for being the good guy. He could be on your spoiler on the last lap at Bristol. He's not going to move you. But guest you had on the show not that long ago, Kyle Busch, everyone knew if he's on my spoiler at the end, he's probably going to move me. That came back to bite him because people started saying, well, I know what he would do if the shoe was on the other foot. Nobody would ever do it to Jeff. I feel like this, not just younger generation, but racing as a whole, not only do drivers never forget, but I would just say all racers never forget. And everyone builds not only their own resume of everyone else, but they remember just the etiquette that they have on track. And I think that plays a really big role in how the rest of their career flows. So again, this isn't just for Carson. I think this is for everyone. Especially with how quickly videos can get clipped and passed around and shared amongst people. That's going to stick with him now for a while.
Yeah.
So if the
that's
shoe's on the other foot for anyone.
When I was a bonehead when I was that age, there was no social media.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no social media.
I'm so glad we didn't have social media when we were
I
growing
will
up.
say this too, because I said this the other day, and it was Jeff Kiger. He said, "Man, you got to say that on your podcast." He said because it really hits home. I saw one clip. This was right after it happened that Carson said, "Well, I feel like he would have done the same thing to me, but I didn't."
You had every opportunity.
I was passing you on the outside and got ran up the track. Then I tried it again, and you did it again. Now, the third time might have been a little different story, but my point to that is you can't say, to me, that comment is negate.
And
you cannot.
I'll talk to Carson this weekend, but now the rest of the competition is going to say that about him.
Yeah. Why should I try to pass him? Right. Yeah.
You know?
Anyway, that's... Like I said, I'm not mad.
No.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed that we didn't win the race.
Well, I just hope the comments that, whether it's in person, social media, recorded, whatever, in the event that the shoe is on the other foot, I just hope that the level of acceptance is the same.
Right.
So, but anyway, enough about that.
Let's talk about our guest.
Yes.
Let's talk about our guest.
So, little known story. One of the two brothers that own our company, Tommy, was talking about Eric before I even met him. And of course, I fly the drones at the races for cars and Smart, so I get an opportunity to kind of step back and see the production side of things. Before I was in the pits with you, pushing and pulling and doing whatever you told me, but I kept hearing about Eric Brennan. This guy's going to be calling stuff on Sundays. Eric Brennan. I'm like, golly, like. Do you have like a man crush or what? So I finally meet Eric and I start paying attention and I'm like, okay, yeah, like dude's good. Obviously we all know where you are now. Where'd you come from? How'd you get here?
I grew up in Staten Island, New York, which is part of New York City. So in conversation or if I've had a few drinks, the accent's a little thicker. I try to hide it when I'm calling races, just like those British singers do. But I found nobody in my family raced. I grew up in a relatively blue-collar family. My mother was always a caretaker, whether it was nursing home or daycare center, and my father's an electrician. He was generation of plumbers, but he decided to go to school to become an electrician. So I was on that same path and trajectory. But when I was a kid, I broke my leg in my house one day. Just running through the house, slipped, fell, broke my leg. And I was in a cast for 2 months. We lived on the second floor of what was like a 2-story apartment. We had 3 bedrooms up top. Another family lived down below. And I was flipping through the channels one day and I found a race. And the next week, I remembered names and numbers. And the following week, I was looking at the TV guide to see when the race was on. So it was a first-generation passion. And my dad was doing electrical work for someone who had 2 kids who were racing go-karts nearby. Englishtown had a go-kart track on the backside they would use of the grandstands, the dragway. They made a go-kart track out of it. So we went. And I remember vividly, it was the day that Dale Sr. won his last race because I heard the radio call from like a nearby RV. But I said to my father, like, I want to do this. Like, let's figure out how to race. And we bought a book of how to get started. And it was like $10,000. But we didn't have a car. We were using public transit to get everywhere, school bus to school. But, if I had to go to the doctor or something, we would take a MTA bus. So we realized kind of quickly we couldn't afford it. But I still loved it, and we went to Pocono in 2000, and it's the fandom grew. But I think by the time I was about 14 years old, I was like, all right, I'm never gonna race. Like it's just not in the cards. So let me try to figure out something else that I could do in the sport. And my dad said to me once, you should think about going to broadcasting school. And I thought about it, put it in the back of my head, and started doing electrical work. I was a maintenance electrician with my dad when I was 16. I worked for his company. I cut school in high school. My senior year, I would go clock in for attendance, walk out, leave, go to my truck, go change ballasts at a commercial building or something. And we both got laid off in 2010 when the after effects of the market crash and all that stuff. And after 2 months of us working together and choking each other and
Right.
yeah, I was like, I'm going to take a loan out and go to broadcasting school. So it was a 4-month program, and I walked out of there and went to Wall Stadium, and that was where I started announcing.
Well, I mean, what a place to start.
Dang right.
You know, I mean, that's like walking out and going straight to Bowman Gray.
Right.
You know, like,
I got lucky. It just so happened they had let go of. They always have had a 4-person team, 3 up top in the booth. They run about 5 divisions a night, and then Jeff Gravatt has been doing Victory Lane since the place was built, and they just so happened to let one guy go when I approached them and said, "Hey, I just graduated." And I remember I did my first night, nervous as could be. They let me call the 4 and 8 cylinders. Earl Krause, Gary Larson, they got the modifieds. And I walk out and I go to thank Cliff and Diane Krause, who they were, promoting the track at the time. In fact, this is Diane's last year. And she hands me an envelope, and I'm like, I'm getting paid for this? I'm like, there's no way. So and I love it. I was there all the way up till we moved down.
Did what you learned in broadcasting school actually translate to what you were doing, or was it like totally just get thrown in the fire?
It gave me confidence, like, just to kind of be in front of a microphone and be in front of a camera. And one of the best things was they kind of taught you how to go back and listen to yourself. Like, don't listen to yourself right away because you're still kind of mentally attached to what you were trying to say. Give it some time to breathe, and then you'll hear what you actually said versus what you were trying to say. And that type of critique and stuff was cool. They did teach me some editing things, which I've never done. So utmost respect to those who can, because I've never been good at that stuff. But met a lot of really cool people. Once that was over, I had a friend who I had graduated with. It's not a degree. It's like a program.
Certificate,
Yeah. And he's like, hey, I'm doing a production assistant work for this reality TV show. Do you want to come? And at first it was cool because we would just get coffee, food, and then sit in a van and watch Netflix all day. And then when we were done, we would clean up and go back. And after a couple of weeks, I was like, I made so much more money doing electrical work. I'm sorry. I got to go back to being an electrician. So I stayed at Wall and continued to, even today, I have a day job with the utility company doing something different. But I just couldn't. I never got to a point where it's full time. But with the opportunities I've had lately, I feel like it's possible.
Couple more steps. How's it going? Are you me? Yeah, I'm you from the future. Well, hold on, let me shoot this deer real quick. Yeah, that deer's gonna wind you because you didn't use your limit shield. Told you so. Anyway, I got a jet. Just remember to use your limit shield. Oh yeah, and if Mike asks you to go to Tijuana, don't go.
So at what point, a guy from New York, what point do you say, I'm going to North Carolina?
So it's a funny story. I met my now wife. We met online, as most younger generations do now. And we were on our first date, and she was living in Brooklyn. She's from Long Island, but she was an ER nurse in downtown Manhattan. She lived in Brooklyn. And question came up, if you could live anywhere else other than New York, where would it be? And I said Charlotte. And she took immediate interest. I didn't know she had a cousin who was living here at the time. And she had come down and visited, and she kind of thought about it. So her dad, after she started dating this guy for 2 months, he's an electrician. He likes NASCAR. You're moving where? He was not happy. We got engaged shortly after we moved, and we stayed engaged for a couple of years, and now we got 2 kids. But we really, if it wasn't for her, I don't think I would have ever. There's a lot of butterfly effect moments in your life. Mm-hmm. Breaking my leg was one of them. Meeting my wife was the other, because she was the one who's like, let's just do it. And we had it's so crazy to think about it, but we had a piggy bank where if we ever had cash in our wallet or in her purse, we would just drop it all in that piggy bank. It's like, whatever that is, that's moving fund, and we ended up making the move in 2018. And as soon as I got down here, I emailed every racetrack around, and, Caraway, Ace, the stadium. And the stadium was the one that actually bit the line, and they were looking for someone to come in to be an assistant in 2019. And I sent a reel in, and they brought me over to do that, which you don't do a lot of play-by-play in that role at the stadium. So that wasn't that much fun, but just being there and learning the environment and meeting, guys like you. I mean, a lot of my experience has been meeting people who I know everything about them, but they know nothing about me. And it's a little strange.
Yeah, but I mean, networking and the B2B stuff is where deals come together. I mean, and at Bowman Gray, there might not be that much play-by-play, but there's so much that comes out of that place that you don't realize.
There's always something to talk about.
There is.
There's always something. I tell people, even when the racing's not good, you'll still be entertained.
Well,
and there's just so much going on.
With what he's doing, there's so many different people. I mean, you might see Steve O'Donnell there one week.
Yeah.
You might see Richard Childress there one week. Like, you might see Burt Myers there every week. Like,
it's a good chance, but
So my wife was not a racing person. In fact, I'd say she probably still isn't. She knows people in the industry now, so she roots for people that she knows personally or has connections with. First time she came to the stadium with me, she sat by herself over in turn 2.
Oh, no, not turn 2. Oh, no, not turn 2.
Randy Pettit was the main announcer. And Randy is a tremendous person. He did such a great job there.
He fit that role nice.
Yeah.
He did.
If you haven't seen Randy before, he was the show. He was always bedazzled.
Very
He always
flamboyant.
he always got a great outfit. So gentleman taps my wife on the shoulder and says, "Oh, who's your driver? Who you dating?" And she's like, "Oh no, my fiance. Yeah, my fiance is he's the announcer here." He's like, "Oh, where you from? From New York." Fast forward to opening ceremonies, Randy comes out in like a purple sparkling star stripes with a top hat, and this gentleman leans over and goes, "That's what they dress like in New York, huh?" He's like, no, that's not him. That's not him.
That is too funny, man.
So that was her first stadium experience.
Well, it was legit.
Well, I mean, hey.
Legit. God bless those folks in Walkertown.
Oh my goodness, man.
So after Bowman Gray, you've done some work with World Karting Association. You've done some stuff at Charlotte, done some stuff with ZMAX Dragway. How does this progress? Are you reaching out to these places trying to kind of grow your professional portfolio, or are they coming to you at this point?
Yeah, you mentioned like networking, and that's kind of how it's gone. It was like a link. Every step was a link in the chain. So working at Wall Stadium, I met a couple of friends of mine who they were officials there, but they would go to Englishtown. Englishtown was still doing like club karting races on Sundays, so they would go there and officiate those kart races. That got them a chance to start traveling with the World Karting Association. They needed an announcer. They said, we know someone. So I started traveling with WK a little bit. And then after we moved down, I kept doing that. They have their Daytona Kart Week between Christmas and New Year's every year. And it's a blast. And they get a ton of karts that show up. And that's where I first saw Carter McMurray. Sebastian Montoya, who's now racing in Europe, Juan's son. And it was a lot of fun. The best part of it was you were with the same group of people for 3 to 4 nights a week. So you go to the racetrack and then go have dinner. And those who want to go have drinks. Those who want to go to bed. From there, I met someone who was filming the WK races, and he struck a deal with the SCCA. The year that COVID happened, they were doing Formula 3 and Formula 4 racing here. Now I'm a stock car guy, I would say, paved ovals for the most part. Didn't really know a lot about road racing, but he said, I've got this gig. It pays this much, and you'll be with a full-fledged production crew, because all of our people were based out of Cleveland, and there was no sports going on. So they all came out, and we went to Sebring, Homestead, Circuit of the Americas, which was supposed to be the F1 weekend, but that got canceled because of COVID, but we still raced. Working with that group of people showed me like what a sports production should look like and feel like. And I was paired with a guy named Craig Minervini, who's like pre and post game host for the Florida Marlins still, and backup play-by-play voice for them. Ironically, also has a Staten Island connection, so that was kind of cool. But working with people who, outside of the racing space, because I know what the racing world is like, but I didn't know what like the sports broadcasting world was like, or what the particular roles were that people were doing outside of what I learned in that broadcasting program. That link in the chain, though, got severed because at the end of 20, they lost those rights. But then back to the Bowman Gray opportunity the year before, Chris Williams started up the Smart Tour. They ran a 4-race slate in 20, and they started off in 2021. he went over to Lenny Baticki, who I had met previously from stadium work. And also I would fill in at Summer Shootout if Steve Post couldn't make it. Lenny would always do post-race shows there. And Lenny says, I know a guy, modified guy from Wall Stadium, give him a shot. And Chris, he trusted me. And at first, he's like, I don't know how this is going to go. He's like, we're a brand new series, but we got good support. And he started rattling off names. And he's like, we got Bert and, we got Gerstner and we've got all these people. And I was like, I'm in. I was like, I don't care what it pays. I don't care if it pays. I'm in. And honestly, the Smart Tour stuff is the most fun I ever had. When the Cars Tour gig came calling, Chris said to me, like, can you still do some of our races? And at the time, my wife and I were expecting our first child, and she's like, you got to pick one.
Yeah.
And so I went with the Cars Tour, but I watch every Smart race. If I'm calling a race or if I have another thing going on, I go back and watch the replay after all of them. And I'm excited to see Chris and everyone this weekend, because that was probably the most fun and the biggest stepping stone for me to get to that Cars Tour opportunity.
Well, Chris probably told you, hey, you probably should take this. And I bet he was supportive.
Yeah, I called him. So I had heard rumblings from a few people like, hey, the ownership's changing hands, the streaming rights are changing hands, and I think you're in the running for it. And I kind of went through like Thanksgiving, like holding my breath, not because I knew with the ownership group involved and with what they were doing and the exposure to Flow, because that was a big change for the Cars Tour, was getting on a platform that a lot of people already had because they love racing. And I wasn't quite sure. And then it wasn't until I think like second week in January, they were like, hey, it's going to be you and Blake McCandless. We're going to pair you up to call a race at Florence, see how you work together. If that goes good, you're our guys. And the hardest part was calling Chris. He's like, I knew it was going to happen, especially at the banquet.
I remember when
before.
he told me.
Yeah.
And I was like, nah.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, we're losing Eric to the Cars Tour. I was like, nah, please don't. But I mean, we all understood, it was a progressive
when you
move.
see somebody that
I'll tell you this. So this is going to sound disrespectful, but I don't mean it this way.
this ought to be good.
That's what I was thinking.
Eric is better than the Smart Tour. Eric is better than the Cars Tour.
Oh yeah.
I know that sounds disrespectful to those series, but Eric is better than that. Eric is not just, and see, I don't know if people understand this. One of the fun things for me and Philip to do this podcast is we knew nothing. We didn't know this story. So we're hearing this for the first time, just like our viewers are hearing this for the first time. So to hear where you're coming from, now it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He's not just a guy that liked racing and ended up calling races because it was fun and, let me do it. This guy did it. Like, he is so articulate. He is perfect. I'm not, I
appreciate
my son
it.
It's
says
hard to
glazing.
sit here and listen
What
to
do the
this.
kids say? They're glazing.
Yeah.
We're glazing now.
Yeah.
So, but,
Bruh.
damn it. We're glazing,
Seven.
bruh. What's the new?
I still don't know what that means.
Farming is a new one that anyway.
I'm not quite sure about 6'7"
But
either.
all
Whatever.
kidding aside, like, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say this without you sitting there. He's the real deal.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool. That's why I think Chris and probably everybody involved with Smart understood.
Yeah.
Dude, really, like, to hear you call a race, it makes the race so much more enjoyable.
It's very,
I know, and maybe that's a little disrespectful to some of the guys who are calling some of these races, and I don't mean that, but a spade's a spade, and he's the best. He is in short track racing. He's the best, and we've said several times.
And I know what he's getting ready to say. He's getting ready to say it's because I'm surrounded by great people.
Yeah, that's the right.
That's it, though.
And it's true, though. It is true.
It is, but we've said this amongst ourselves, and I've heard other people say it. When it was yesterday, somebody at the shop asked me who was going to be on, and I told him, he said, "Oh, that dude's going to be on TV on Sunday before it's over with." I mean, really, it's so. And take pride in that, and I know you do.
It means a lot.
But you've worked hard.
Yeah,
you've worked hard.
It's not. It's not just. I lucked out and here I am.
Right? He's.
Well, I say it all the time. It's the American dream.
Like my preacher. Okay, my preacher doesn't just preach. My preacher teaches. And to hear him talk about stuff and explain this is a Greek meaning and I'm intrigued by his amount of intelligence.
Yeah.
To hear him call a race feels that same way. To hear him call a race and to hear how fluent he is and how even if you don't remember a driver's name, but nobody knows it. You know what I mean? Like,
right. You can make
you
mistakes
flow
and nobody knows
nobody
it. Yeah.
knows it. And just to hear it, it makes it a lot more fun to watch.
I have a lot of respect for not just what the drivers do, especially in the short track. Like I mentioned, I have a day job, and it's a salary day job, and now I manage a team of 8, soon to be 11. So I have to go to work every day, and then I come home. The regimen is on a race week. I have 2 daughters. Get them fed, get them to bed. Clean up the house with the wife. Once she's happy with how the house looks, I sit down, I start prepping for the race.
Right.
And I'll stay up till 10, 11, 12, 1 in the morning until I feel comfortable that I have enough substance on everyone, because I want to tell everyone's story. Because most of the people that I'm covering have a 40, 50, 60-hour week job. They're staying up till 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And they're actually putting more on the line than I ever will. I'm just trying to narrate their story. They're actually the ones who are putting the story together for me to talk about. I just have so much respect for every competitor that I am fortunate enough to cover. I don't want to do them a disservice by not telling their story. So if I could tell something that's personal as to how they got there, a wreck or an incident they overcame or an injury they overcame, something that happened in their life, good or bad, anything. Stories about the race car. Like on the ARCA side, it's fun because Brayton Lasser's a bit of a character. He's got a fun following on social media. But he's driving for Wayne Peterson, who's in his 80s. He's a former war veteran, goes to all the races, which when I'm 80, I don't think I'll be able to move anywhere.
I'll be lucky. To run the remote correctly.
And even though Brayton and that team are not going to win a race, he was showing me that it was a 2001 built Ganassi Cup car that they have continued to maintain. It had the old Ganassi logo on the dash still. And it was one of the first cars that I think Jamie McMurray drove when he made the transition to Ganassi. So like I captured all that. And I think it was Phoenix that I was able to tell that story. Unfortunately, it was while Brayton was getting lapped. But a lot of the diehard old school fans are into that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Because not only does Brayton have a story, but the car has a story. And I love fishing out that information to use because, a lot of people watch racing for different reasons. They have a favorite driver, their family's into it, their parents were fans of somebody, whatever their purpose or reason is. Some people love it for the cars and the machinery involved and how they're put together and where it all came from and how it all has a story. If I could find that and put that out there, I'm just as geeked out by it as anybody. So if I could share it with everyone, then I love to do it.
He cares.
Yeah.
And it shows.
Well, I've seen right before a race starts, you know how you'll see an NFL football coach and they'll have that play card that they carry around, and it looks like a Chinese restaurant menu.
Right.
Those guys have that stuff.
Right.
But the amount of like preparation is one of the things I'm curious about because, like, let's take this upcoming weekend for example. Obviously, the attention is going to be on probably the with the Cars Tour at least maybe 3 guys that could realistically win it. Is that right?
I think mathematically we're down to 2 on the late model stock side. The pro late model owners points is up to 3. There's a chance for 3 different teams to win there, but it'll probably end up being the Setzer 6 of Ben Mayer. He's going to win the title. I think all he has to do is start. He's got a big enough points lead. But the Rick Ware car that Luke's driving on the pro side, they're only like 4 points out of the owners championship, which is funny because the same thing happened last year when Honeycutt won the driver's title, but Spencer Davis won the owner's title.
Right.
But what I normally do to prep for these races is they'll send us the entry list Monday or Tuesday. If there's updates, they'll push them out. And I'll just take the whole entry list and I'll transpose it to a spreadsheet. And I'll just go line by line, driver by driver. What have you done at Wilkesboro before? What have you done this year? And I'll try to find successes from everyone. Like even if you want to race at Millbridge, like that's something cool to share with
Millbridge.
people.
Millbridge is a
Yeah, right.
And I should say when I say even if you want to race at Millbridge, even if you're running ARCA full time, but you ran 1 open race at Millbridge and you won that, I'll note it. Because I want to highlight that this is not a series that is on national television every week. But we've got stars. We've got people who are good at what they do. And if I could build them all an individual resume with something good about them, I'll try to populate all that. And then, conversations at the racetrack. Like, I'm fortunate. I got to travel to most of the ARCA races I did this year. Normally, I would have to harass people on social media when we would do the shows, from Charlotte or from Concord. and say, hey, could you block 15 minutes for me to just fire off some questions at you because I won't see you at the track. Normally, the people that they send for boots on the ground as pit reporters, they do an amazing job to get that information too. But I like having some of my own or posing some of my own questions. When you're at the track, you can just go down the line and talk to anybody you can. So that's kind of my methodology. And that's where those hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of building all that and putting it in my language and my lingo so I could pull it while I'm talking. It's a little bit easier.
Do you find that a lot of the stories, like the one you were talking about with the old cup car, does that come from you asking questions, or does that come from you just listening, like just being around and shooting the crap in the pits? And people will open up to you. I mean, because you don't have a dog in the fight. As far like not getting along with other teams, so they'll open up to you. I mean, where do you get the most of your really interesting stuff?
The longer the conversation, the more you'll get. And Bert, you probably know this from being interviewed, and you'll see this on Sundays where and I'm not a really good pit reporter. I've done it before, but I feel like I'm more suited for the booth. But you'll see if someone could get a second question in or a third question in, especially if someone got wrecked or was out of the race, usually by the time they get to that third answer, they start getting a real emotion.
Yeah.
Like they're breaking free of the PR training and
Yeah.
buffer that's built, and they're actually starting to get some substance.
Right.
The longer the conversation, recorded or not recorded, the more substance you can get. And that learning about that car was just hanging out over there and meeting Wayne for the first time, because that was the first time that I got to travel to one of the ARCA races, was at Phoenix this year. And it just became like an overflow of what this team is doing and what they're doing it with.
Yeah.
And that's what I found. And then, just organic friendships and relationships, you start to learn more about what's going on with certain people or problems that they may have had that they may not talk to other people about. And then you also start to reach those lines as to where people will share information with you. And it's like, all right, is this on the record or off the record?
Yeah.
Because there are some things that people want me to know and be aware of that you wouldn't necessarily tease or lead into. One example could be a lot of talk about what Butterbean's doing next year. And he's gone from Cars Tour ARCA Championship. What is he doing next year? And the rumors are all out there. They're not necessarily finalized. There should be an announcement coming. And that's one of those things where it's like, I think I know where he's going, but I'm not going to speculate, not going to put him in a bad spot. We'll let him have his moment.
Yeah.
So it's a culmination of just, relationships and as much time that you could lend to a conversation, the better off you are.
Well, and something that I've noticed is teams like that are, let's call them not as competitive because of resources and funding and whatnot. Sometimes those are the best stories. Sometimes those are the best, the comeback story or the underdog story, and it's easy for a guy that has all the resources and everything he needs to stand up there on the little podium and make a little speech. But the guys who get in there and get their knuckles busted and get their hands dirty and use equipment that's outdated and they overcome, those are the best stories.
What was the guy?
And I think your blue collar race fan, they can relate to that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What was the guy's name? And he may still race on the Northern Tour. And he would show up in the
That
open
was Wade
rollback.
Cole. Yeah, he died.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, he died.
But I used to always
Working on his own car in the shop by himself. I think the car rolled off the scales and it.
I used to love watching him at the
He would
track.
literally drive it up on that carryall.
Yeah.
He would drive it up on
That was, I remember, I think it was a couple of weeks before Teddy Christopher got killed. I went up to Thompson they would run a Wheel and Modified Tour race on Wednesday night. And race ran like caution free. That was actually, it was right before we moved because that was the first race I took my wife to. And she's like, we drove 3 hours to watch a 30-minute race because they didn't have a yellow. But at the end of the night, we went back in the pits. There was a mob there to watch Wade load his car.
Yeah.
It became like a night
Like a
ending
cult
spectacle.
following, yeah.
I remember my dad had a carryall.
Yeah.
And I mean, he didn't drive it up on there like that, but to watch Wade do that, it was like it was orchestrated. Like,
remember
he knew exactly what move to make, how to do it, and I mean,
He'd do it by himself.
Yeah, by himself. And there's a lot of guys that may have taken him 2 or 3 times to get that on there, not Wade. Tie it down and hit the road.
And he'd be one of the first ones out of there.
Yeah, I know.
All the other stacker haulers haven't even moved yet. And he's like, see you guys.
See ya.
You had a great opportunity this year to be in the booth with Dale Jr. and Kevin Harvick in North Wilkesboro.
Yeah.
How'd that phone call go when they told you?
So I was actually in Phoenix for that ARCA race, and Kevin and I had talked, and Kevin and I have a great relationship.
Now, let me interrupt you. I'm sorry. So are you, I should have asked this earlier, are you employed by Flow or are you employed by Cars?
So for the Cars Tour deal, we technically work straight for Flow.
Okay.
That agreement has changed. I think this is the third year that we've been doing it, and it's changed around a little bit from different production companies. But that is a Flow-led effort for us.
Okay.
And then on the Fox side, it's just an annual contract essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
With my fingers crossed that there's a renewal for next year. But they had sent me to Phoenix, which was the second ARCA race of the year. Which that was awesome. And my brother lives out that way. He had moved out there, and his family's out in that area, so I got to see him. But Kevin and I started talking, and he kind of said, like, hey, like, I just want you to put this on your radar. This might happen. I said, okay. And I kept it under wraps because it was in the very infant stages. And honestly, it really took to the 11th hour for it to be finalized. But I heard that the plan was for it to be me, Kevin, and Dale in the booth. They were going to put Blake on pit road so he could still be involved. And Caitlin Vincey, who's become a really good friend of mine, and she works so hard, and she actually is willing to share a lot of the notes she gathers. She started at Langley, and she said, I would love to do this race. I know so many of these people. This is where I started. Yeah. It's like the perfect merging of opportunity.
We are Citrusafe, where good grilling is made better. We have prided ourselves in being the industry pioneer for safe grill cleaners. Our citrus-powered grill cleaner spray paired with our nylon bristle brushes is all you need when it comes time to clean your grill. We strive to not only save you fuel, but also avoid the dangers associated with ingesting metal wire grill brushes. Citrusafe is available at major retailers nationwide, from Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace, Walmart, and many more. We also are available online on Amazon.com. Citrusafe, great for all grills.
So I haven't told this story to that many people. Some of my inner circle know this. The way that race went down, Cup qualifying was on right up till 8 o'clock. Mm-hmm. They went off air at 7:58. Mike Joy was in the booth. Clint, Kevin stayed. Mike and Clint come out. I walk in, throw the headset on. Well, Mike had the volume very high. Very, very high. So I dial it down, and we had a whole run of show planned of what we were going to do, what we're going to talk about. We had like 30 seconds to just make sure we could hear the producer, and then we had to get in our positions for on camera and go. Well, when I had dialed the headset volume down, I got to the point where if someone else was talking, I could not hear my producer at all. And he told me to throw to something at one point, and I wasn't going to guess wrong. So I started filibustering. I just started talking out of my ass in that moment. Kevin was, I could tell he was looking at me like, where are you going with this? And then finally, the producer repeated it again. And I was like, I led to that piece properly. We go to commercial break, and Dale looks at me, he's like, did I say the right car numbers? I don't know if I said the right thing. I was like, I don't know if I led to the right thing. But we were all during break talking about how excited we were for this to happen,
right?
And not just for the Cars Tour, but for just short track racing as a whole. Mm-hmm. We were all so amped up, we almost couldn't contain it. And that first segment almost went off the rails because of me, but we rallied back. So if you go back and watch it, you'll catch that moment.
But race fans don't like cookie cutter,
right?
Like they like spontaneity, mm-hmm. They like energy, they like to see the people that they're watching be normal.
Yeah.
Like mm-hmm. Nobody wants cookie cutter.
I will say the best advice that I ever received, and I got it this year, if everyone went to school, broadcast school, journalism school, whatever, to be a broadcaster and came out of school by the book to the T to what you think a broadcaster should be, everyone would sound the same.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
You would be your best if you could be yourself while also doing the job. So I've more so tried to get a little more comfortable with who I'm working with. And Blake, who I work with on the Cars Tour, he's like a little brother of mine. We talk daily about life, racing, whatever. Phil and I on the ARCA side, every time that we travel somewhere now, Phil is the king of finding something to do. Whether it's a minor league baseball game, a concert. We went to the Louisville baseball bat factory when we went out to
that's cool.
to Salem, and we like hanging out. Even though I've been watching Phil call races, I think I watched the last year of his Busch career and then the first year of his TV career when he was doing trucks for ESPN. I was 11 years old, and now I'm hanging out with the guy. I said to Kevin and Dale during the break of that Cars Tour race, I said, I know I shouldn't say this, but I hope you guys know how out of this world it is that I'm here. Which may not be the most professional thing to say, but in that moment, that's how I felt.
But with those two guys, like that's normal. Like that's there's other people that would want you to kiss the ring. And I think they totally got that.
Yeah.
Like, some of the funniest things I've seen on social media are some of Dale Jr.'s outtakes and, some of the weird questions they throw at him. And, you just, what you see is what you get, and I like that. I mean, I don't want cookie cutter.
Well, like when we do these shows, Philip made me I asked him to make me a little note here so I wouldn't forget some stuff, but like kudos to Philip. He does all the research. He does all of that stuff. Cause that's Philip. I'm on the fly. I don't do much research. Now, if it's something I need to, like when you weren't here and I had to, but like on my seat, I just want to start talking and let's just get into it. But that's why me and Philip, I think, work good together. Is that's his role and this is my role. Mm-hmm. But I'm more the on the fly guy. I'm the more of I'll make some. I call them, what do they call them? Bullet points. Yeah. And even when I make a speech at a banquet, it kind of looks like this. There's no speech. It's just bullet points of stuff I got to
It's just topics to get you started.
To get me started. And then if I'm not careful, I'll go too far. But that's I think to me, that's the human part of just like not rehearsed and I think that's what makes Eric so good is he's got both.
Yeah.
Is he's got a memory bank for one, but he's also got his strategy, but he's also good at on the fly too. So in what you were talking about, how you thought you screwed up. No, and you said you've not told that story.
You were the only one.
I guarantee you're the only one that knew it.
You're the only one.
You're the only one that knew it.
Once I told my wife about it and we went back and watched it, she's like, I could see a little bit what you're talking about.
But see, you thought, oh my gosh, what did I just do?
In real time, it felt way worse than what it was.
But it flowed so good that nobody even probably knew it.
I've got a question right here, and it says, have you ever made a monumental mistake?
So I don't know if that would qualify as monumental. I've had things where like tongue tie moments where like, you mix up letters in a word and you sound silly saying it. I did it on a checkered flag call for the ARCA race, which you were talking about social media earlier. Sometimes people are very complimentary and I try to reach out to everyone that I can just to thank them. I don't really do it publicly. I'll just try to like shoot them a message like, hey, I appreciate it. I could read 100 nice things and there'll be one guy who's like, I can't stand that Boston accent. I'm like, I'm not even from Boston. But I can't go back and forth with him. But at the end of the ARCA race, Thomas Annunziata, who's from Jersey, he won. And I meant to say Lime Rock Park, and I said Lime Rock Park. So it sounded like I was from Boston at that moment. But no, which I mean, I hope that doesn't mean that day is coming.
Well, no, I mean, everybody's definition of monumental is different, right? I know when I worked for the Highway Patrol,
I can't. Sorry.
I had 2 Dodge Chargers. They were drag racing about 130 miles an hour. It was nighttime. And they come by me like that. And I looked. I was like, all right. They disappear over a hill. I take off over the hill. As I'm starting to catch up to them, there's a 3rd Dodge Charger. I don't know who to stop. So I stop all of them. Mm-hmm. Well, now I don't know who to write tickets to because all of them are saying I didn't do it. So I'm at that point where I'm getting ready to like make a monumental mistake. So tie goes to the runner. I just let them all go. I go back. I'm asking all my buddies. I'm like, what would y'all do? How would you handle this? They're like, I wrote them all a ticket. Well, no, you can't do that. But I've always felt like if you screw up, you just own it.
Yeah.
You just own it. It's different for you because like if you're cutting to a commercial break and you say wrong sponsor's name or something, I don't know that you would come back and say, I misspoke about this, that, or the other. You would probably just make a point to get that sponsor's name correct in a couple more plugs going forward, to kind of erase.
Yeah, and I've actually done that before. If I'm calling a race and I'm aware that I named the wrong driver or something, I'll try to correct it in real time and own it because that is another human element of it. Yeah. I don't want to gloss over it and try to think that I'm perfect. A mistake like going to break or something like that. Yeah, when we come back, I won't try to call attention to it, but I'll try to give the love back in some other way. Which I mean, I've done that. I've misplaced people in certain vehicles. I've misplaced people in certain running order. I just do like a quick check that. Actually, they're battling for 6th. I'll try to see if I can smooth it over in real time. But if not, it's one of those things where they say if you don't want to get, since it's live television, you don't want to get hung up on it too long because it'll just weigh you down. You kind of just got to get up, keep running.
Well, I think the average person realizes the amount of information you're trying to keep up with.
Even with me, and I think a lot of this is my mindset because, I want you to look at that while we're talking.
So that was what I heard.
Okay.
So we're looking
That's
at...
on NASCAR's Instagram page, right?
All right, so we
You
can talk
want
about
you
it.
want to tell that?
So it seems like it's
announced as of about 10
it's officially announced that Butterbean's going to the College Grand program in trucks in 2026.
That's awesome, man.
The best news out of that is we talk about amazing partners. So I've gotten to know John Folsom of Folsom Fence Supply, who's been a longtime supporter of Butterbean and Leap Polium, and also the Staten family with Best Repair Company. They got Butterbean to a point, and this was from a conversation that Brennan and I had about a couple weeks ago. He's like, this is about as far as my supporters could get me. And luckily with this Ram deal, it sounds like this is something that they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
The opportunity is his to make the most of. And it's going to be fun to see him. I don't want to say race without that pressure, but race without that worry.
Right.
You know, of having to make the most of it.
I'm such a big fan of his too.
Oh, he's cool, man.
I mean, just
Great guy.
Again,
he's cool.
Another one that short track racing needs to see him succeed.
It's
and
funny
he
'cause
has. I mean, he
when we
wore him out on ARCA.
We
this
were
year.
at when he got one of the opportunities to drive a truck or whatever it was, and we were at Wilkesboro. I think it was Wilkesboro.
Yeah.
Might be Martinsville. Whenever it was, a couple years ago.
Yep.
And I mean, I knew Butterbean, and I'm sure he knew me, but we never really met. So I see him walking, and he sees me, and we make eye contact. And I was like, "What's up?" He said, "It's Burt Myers." I said, "It's Butterbean." Like we kind of had that. Oh,
Mutual
it's cool to
respect.
meet you. Oh, it's cool to meet you. So that was pretty cool. And then I ended up when he got his first win, I texted him, and so I mean, we halfway stay in contact, but I mean, not, you know, we're not big buddies or anything but it's cool.
Would love
And we-
to have him on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think we can probably make that happen. But
yeah.
it's cool to see like priests and people who you've watched come through the ranks and take a chance and did it. And I mean, he basically obliterated the field in ARCA this year. So,
The funniest conversation I had with him was at Salem. So championship wasn't locked up yet. He still had a race to go. I was like, so how you feeling? He's like, I'm not counting my chickens till my eggs hatch. He's like, but man, it'd be really cool to go to a good banquet. He's like, I won my last track championship at Langley in 20. COVID canceled the banquet. He's like, when I won my regional title, I got it like a letter in the mail.
Yeah.
He's like, now I get to like go at an actual banquet. He's like, my name will be on a plaque in the Hall of Fame. Like he's
Yep.
so appreciative of what the success
You can tell.
is giving
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the reasons I like him.
yeah, and he's
You
earned
know?
it all. And
He's earned it.
And
Right.
the personality is not a facade. That is exactly who he is. We talk about being authentic. He has authentic of a personage you'll ever meet.
Well, and that's again, that's one of those guys that comes from, starts down here and has just been involved, turned the wrenches,
Right.
has remembered where he came from, just there doesn't seem to be anything manufactured about him.
And the other thing, and if you do have him on, he could tell this story better, but he was at a crossroads in his life, and I could kind of relate to this a little bit too. When my wife and I, when our first daughter was born in 23, she said, how long do you plan on working a full-time job and doing this racing stuff? And I was like, well, let me give myself a 5-year runway and see where it goes. And then we'll reevaluate. Butterbean was working as a longshoreman. In fact, he was, I think, third generation longshoreman at the Port of Virginia. And he got to a point where, like, kind of running out of money on the racing side, got to focus on the full-time job. And that was where he met John Staten. And John got him with Lee, and they won their first race. And it was one of those things where we almost did not get to see this guy's talent because life was about to get in the way. And the right person at the right time helped push him along. And since then, he's made the most of it. And again, how many of us and how many people watch it could relate to that?
Well, we were talking when Danny Culler was here about, timing's everything. And how, when you were starting out, it was everybody wants a resume. What have you done? And then those two dynamics kind of shift. And then it's not what have you done?
How much money
as
you
you're as you're building your resume, things kind of change. And now it's how much money can you bring to the table?
Right.
And they just never intersected.
Right.
And it's almost always one decision away from whether you make it or you don't.
Yeah.
And timing is everything. I mean, it's got to be. I think that everybody's got a bucket list somewhere. So from being from New York, who's your football team?
So I will say my sports fandom is a little complicated. So I liked Kurt Warner. When I first started watching football, the Rams won the Super Bowl in '99. So when Kurt went to the Giants, I rooted for them until he retired.
Okay.
Then when my friends got old enough and we got driver's licenses, my best friend was a season ticket Jets fan holder.
Okay.
So I would go to about 3 games a year. So I became a Jets fan, which I still am now.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's a miserable life. So that'll lead to my next point. I love Tino Martinez, who played for the Yankees. Once they got rid of him for Jason Giambi, I was like, I'm done. I'm not pulling for the Yankees anymore. I'm going to be a Mets fan. The Mets stacked their roster in 2002, and they picked up Mo Vaughn and Tom Glavine. And so I'm a Jets fan. I'm a Mets fan, who they had a terrible collapse this year and missed the playoffs in the 11th hour. So my sports fandom is rough.
I'm all behind the Giants right now because I love Scatterbo, however you say his name.
Yeah.
I love this dude.
I got to when COVID came and then a lot of the politics got involved. I kind of drifted away from sports for like ball and stick stuff. So, but I've been kind of watching a little bit here lately, and the Giants don't look bad, man. And New England's starting to come back again, and it is cool. I told somebody, I said, "What is this world coming to when the Bills are getting beat by the Falcons?"
Yeah.
And then the Chiefs are getting beat, and these people, you know,
You know why the Chiefs are getting beat? Mahomes cut the rat tail.
Is that what it was?
The rat tail is gone. The streak is over.
I think
Kelsey is doomed by Taylor.
I've been waiting for it to happen, and I don't mean to sound excited about it, but I can't stand the Chiefs. So I've been waiting for. You remember in Rocky? Was it Rocky 3? When Rocky started doing commercials and started getting all famous with the stuff away from what was important, which was boxing. I've been waiting for that to happen to the Chiefs, and I think it's with the whole Kelsey Taylor Swift crap and
it's the rat tail,
the State Farm commercials with Mahomes and all
the
this
Jerry
stuff.
Curl rat tail that he cut off.
I hate to sound excited about it, but I do not like watching the Chiefs at all, and I do not like watching them win at all. So whenever they do lose, I'm like, well, no,
I look at Kansas City the way I used to look at Jimmy Johnson. I don't like them because they're good. I'm tired of seeing them win. Man. Jimmy Johnson, great driver, like one of the most decorated ever, nice guy.
Patrick Mahomes is hands down one of the most talented quarterbacks that has ever put a ball in his hand.
Yeah.
And he's not like a lot of these, I call them running quarterbacks. And Randall Cunningham was the first running quarterback I remember back in the day. And then you got Michael Vick and then RG3. Well, they get hurt.
RG1 knee.
Yeah, right. But they get hurt because that's in their mind is run. Mahomes, he's the perfect package.
Yeah.
He knows when to run and when to get rid of it. He knows when to slide and when to not slide. I mean, like he is
And
really,
if it doesn't
really
work
good.
out, he always gets called.
Yeah,
So,
right.
well, the reason I asked about that, so in one day you get a phone call. You can either call the Jets in the Super Bowl or the Daytona 500.
Oh, Daytona 500. I mean,
Attaboy.
so I've had someone said to me, like, you know, would you be willing to go do other sports? And I was like, if it would lead me to where I want to be in racing, like and this may hurt me, but I only want to call racing. That's where my heart is. It's where my passion is. It's where my people are. Like, I love football. I watch football every Sunday. Usually I have the race on and I have NFL Red Zone on at the same time. Race has the audio on. And, but racing is where I want to be. I mean, I could go do high school sports somewhere maybe, or, you know, but it's always been racing, you know, and it's also, I guess it's a little weird because I have this second career and like this second life and working a day job where I'm trying to do good there also. But Dave asked me, like, you know, well, when are you leaving? I was like, only if the opportunity presents itself in motorsports, because that's what I know. I know it like the back of my hand. I love it more than anything except my family. And that's,
you don't have to explain it to me.
Yeah, like that's where it is. I mean, it would be cool to call a Super Bowl, but
yeah.
I mean, I would any race, like it could be ARCA Daytona, and I would pick that over a Super Bowl. Like, and that's not to diminish ARCA, but that's just saying the priority is strictly racing.
Right.
Yeah.
Dude, so what do you think happens this weekend at North Wilkesboro?
We're gonna have fun. I know that for a
They're
fact.
going to be three good races.
Yeah, and I'm also interested. Last year we did it at night, so I'm curious how the daytime element of the track is kind of impacted. To
You
the
know why they're
product a
doing
little
that?
bit.
Because there were so many godforsaken cautions last year.
Yeah,
If they start it in earlier in the day, all those cautions will be okay to the nighttime.
Yeah.
I think on the pro late model side, Ben Mayer's got championship locked up. And Ben, I've known Ben since he was about 5 years old. He went through the WK pipeline, did some sports car stuff, did some off-road truck stuff. Now he's back in a stock car. I've known his family for a while. His mom, Beth, dad, Jim, great people. It would be nice to see him go to victory lane before the season ends because he's been so close. In the races that he probably should have won, something happened that was out of his hands. The owner's battle is going to be tough, though, because I think the world of Luke. for him to be so versatile at such a young age is pretty impressive.
True.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he could get a win in that 51 and then jump into Tour Mod and get himself another title there as well. On the Smart Mod side, I mentioned Luke already, and I got to kind of give him the nod also because he was in his position last year. Pressure didn't bother him, kind of shrugged it off. He's very focused forward. For the late model stocks, I think Connor Hall needs some help. Landon Lewis dominated this race in May, led every lap from the pole. That team has a little bit of momentum. Him and Connor got a bit of a shoving match at Tri-County last time out. And don't know if Wilkesboro is a place where that can carry over because it's really the fastest track we go to with these late model stock cars. And you could move somebody, but to do it without putting them in a precarious spot or wrecking them, it's really, really hard. So if I had to handicap the field, I'd say Landon would have the nod. He's up by 12 points going into this race. But Connor Hall is a very, very determined driver.
He's very aggressive. I enjoy watching him race. I think he's aggressive, but I don't think he's dirty. And there's a significant difference there. I'm all about aggressive. I'm not about dirty. On the mods, I think it's right. I think Ryan Newman's going to win it. I really do. And
you never know with Newman will go out and dominate the race and win the race, and then the next week they run 10th. I don't know what's going on with them that trying to find that balance. Like last week, he goes out and he's P1 in practice. He qualified 10th and he ran basically 8th to 10th all night. And so, and I've been there. Trust me, I've been there. I don't know. I know if they knew they'd fix it because I don't know what happens when that happens. But I think as far as the championship is concerned, I think Luke has to be a little bit of the favorite in my opinion. But
he's the most consistent.
Yes,
for sure.
There's so many dynamics.
And then the third one is
Paulie.
Yeah. Which nothing against him. He's going to go places.
So
he's very inexperienced for this pressure situation.
Yeah.
Paulie's dad, Paul, was racing 4-cylinders when I started announcing at Wall. Once Paulie was born, his dad, and Paul would be the first one to tell you this, Paul Hartwig Sr., he was a bit of a hot mess back in the day. And I say that, with admiration for him.
Yeah.
Once Paulie was born, he became that guy at the quarter midget track every week, volunteering, helping people out, getting kids in carts, flipping carts back over. And then he was all in on Paulie's career. And it did not take Paulie long to show that he's got some natural born talent.
Yeah, he does.
And I've watched his dad evolve as a person, and I've watched that process help impact Paulie as a person and as a racer. And I'm proud to see him in this position. And you talk about people who do a lot with a little, they're kind of in that same category.
I mean, you can't count him out.
No, I'm just saying of the three.
They're like outside looking in, being around them now for a full season. Outside looking in, I guess the best way to describe their family is they're a little bit raw.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't mean that disrespect. I just mean outside looking in.
Yeah, what you see is what you get.
But hey, that's how they handle it. And Paulie's always like, if you're walking by him before the race, he says, good luck. I sat on the pole. He told me congratulations. I think he's really trying to be the right person and do the right job. And like you said, he does have the talent to go with it.
He's just young, and it's hard for somebody that young to deal with the stress of everything on his shoulders.
Right.
And sometimes I think they can psych themselves out. Yeah. If it was my son, I would try and do everything I could to keep his mind away from the race and just say, hey, just have fun.
That's what I've always told.
Just have fun.
Just go have fun, man. Let it happen.
Yeah.
That's easy to say.
It is.
It's easy to say.
It is. But I think it's gonna be a good race. There's a lot of cars that are coming. Some names we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah. I think it's 30. Is it 30 cars?
Something like that.
I know Silk's coming in the 16. I heard.
Oh, is he? Is Hirschman going to be there?
I don't think so. I know our the kind of the rattle is
Bonsignor's not coming after
I think the rattle is that
year.
That with Martinsville being their finale next weekend. Guys are preparing for Martinsville.
Okay.
So
I forgot about that.
30 car. I mean, that's a lot. I'll be honest. I think 30's even at a track as big as North Wilkesboro, 30's a lot of cars.
It is.
28 at Tri-County was a lot of cars. I know the big car counts sounds impressive, but to me, 16 to 18 modifieds on a half-mile track, that's a good show.
Yeah.
That's a good show.
I think it's going to be.
So we're doubling that. So if you think about it,
I think it's going to be a big weekend. I hope the attendance is good. The weather's supposed to be good.
Yeah, it should be.
Fall in North Wilkesboro, good God.
Yeah. I know last year, it was nighttime before we got done. We got cold. It was freezing that night. It got cold, man.
was up
So
on-
maybe starting a little earlier, we'll be all right.
We fly the drones from up on top of the press box, and it's other than Tri-County, it's the best place to fly the drones from.
Yeah.
But it's also the quickest to get cold.
Yeah.
Man, I was up there like literally in my hunting gear, wrapped up,
I
hand
guarantee it.
warmers. Like
I know I hear the
whole
spotters
nine.
talk about how,
Golly.
I tell them when Jamie was, whoever it was, I was like, better take a coat. Well, it ain't that. I said, take a coat.
Take a coat.
You better take a coat.
Take a
If you
hoodie
don't
and-
need it,
take
that's
a hoodie
fine,
and
but
a
you better
coat.
take it.
Take a
You're
hoodie and a
standing up there
coat.
in the wind with nothing blocking you, and yeah.
My wife's birthday's Sunday, and this race was on the same event last year. Ended up being on her birthday. So I said this year, come on out, bring the kids. Carson at the car store was able to find some real estate for them to stay inside if they need to.
That's cool.
So we're going to have, I think they're bringing some cupcakes and they're hanging out. I'm just hoping they can make the whole show. I want them to be able to see the whole thing
Right.
before the kids start falling asleep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what else is going on? Do you have big plans for next year?
I don't know yet. Everyone at the car store has been amazing. They've pretty much said, the opportunity's here, for as long as you and Blake, are here. They keep joking, we don't think we're going to be able to keep you that long. And that's very humbling to hear. But I'm like, I've gotten in trouble for saying this before, but if this is all I ever get to do, I'm happy. If this is as much opportunity that's going to present itself, it's all a dream come true. And I love that my oldest daughter is like, oh, Daddy's going to the racetrack. Or whether we're on, Fox for ARCA or we're on Flow and we do it on camera, which I think we're doing one this weekend. She's, oh, that's Daddy, like pointing at the TV like that.
Yeah.
My dream is realized, and I have a visual example for my girls to see they can go do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not drive a race car because I don't have that money. Almost anything they want to do.
Right.
I'm hoping that, there's some more opportunities to continue working with Fox. There's some really great people over there. I the most pleasant surprise from this year, and I did half the ARCA season plus the car store race, so 11 races. I think I had the same producer 3 times, the same director 3 times most. I met so many people and made so many friends out of all these exchanges. Even security detail at Wilkesboro, this guy Percy, we talk probably once a month just to catch up. There's so many good people that I've been able to come across. I hope that I get to do more next year just for the fact that I want to see those people again.
Right.
On top of working with, Phil and Caitlin and Amanda and just all these people. So I don't really know. I would expect, hopefully Car Store will invite me back. And if there's more on the Fox side, then great. But until then, I've got this weekend, Florida Governor's Cup Super Late Model Race in New Smyrna. November, I'm going to go down and do that for NASCAR.
I think George is running that race.
Oh, that'd be cool.
It's a good chance.
Yeah, George Phillips. He. I don't know if you've seen George or not on our show, but Citrusafe sponsors
Yep.
him. We're good
I've
friends with
spoken
his
to
family.
George before. In fact, I don't know if Hot Pockets is still spotting for him, but I've known Brian
I
for
don't
a
think
while.
so.
No, I
Somebody
think
told me that.
Yeah, I think they got some. There's somebody else
Okay.
working now, but yeah, George is great people, great family.
Is he running the Derby by chance?
I don't know about the Derby, but I'm pretty sure that
I think that one's up in the air still.
yeah,
Okay.
I think that Florida race he was definitely going to be in. And I just you want to talk about somebody smart, like talking to that kid. I haven't decided if I leave feeling like I'm smarter than I was before I sat down, or that everybody just figured out how dumb
You're
I
more
am.
informed, but
Yeah, I mean, he's so smart and just good kid. Just
So
great.
even George, I remember when I first heard his name, I was watching him win legend car races, summer shootout, and then he ran a couple cars to a pro late model races. He had that Jeff Gordon throwback that was beautiful,
Yeah.
and that was the first time that I met him was at Hickory. And you're right, great kid, and I'm really excited he's running that race because that's one of those races I've done it for the last 2 years, and there are a lot of people saving their stuff for Snowball because it's about 2 or 3 weeks later. So hearing that we've got some potent talent makes me a little more excited to go down there and do it.
Yeah, he's a good kid. I can't wait to see him progress.
Yeah.
But, so you don't know if there's anything beyond ARCA next year. You don't know if you'll be in Daytona. You don't know if you'll be just see what happens.
I told my wife I would like for every year to bring some form of growth. And I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight so that way I don't feel so self-conscious. These on cameras that I've been doing, because to me, that's the worst part of the whole thing.
At least you don't have to stand on a milk crate to level the shoulders out.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
I
would love the chance to do that ARCA race Daytona. It'll be on Big Fox again. If I could do that and exactly what I did this year, that'll be like that step of progression that I would hope for to show a continuous sign of like, all right, we're heading in the right direction at least. I mean, I like my day job, but I want to work in racing and be able to support my family for working in racing. And unfortunately, at this point, I'm just not there yet.
Well, and if it happened, if it was that easy, you wouldn't appreciate it as much.
Yeah.
But that's one of the great things about this magnificent country that we live in, is that anything's possible. You just have to work for it.
That's right.
You just have to, create. Some of it's create your own opportunities. Some of it's luck. But I've always felt like, there is a little bit of luck, but if you put yourself in the right place around the right people, and you're a good person that people are going to gravitate to, things are going to happen for you. And I've just enjoyed watching the behind the scenes, and I've tried, I told you earlier, I've tried doing your job before, like sitting at home and calling races, and I'll do it at Bowman Gray, where I know most of the drivers, know most of the backstories, and usually it's a pretty vulgar play-by-play, and it's pretty biased. But, yeah,
You got to record that.
Yeah, well,
that would get traction.
Well, I don't mind saying this. So at the stadium this year, when Slate and Riley were racing each other, and Riley was in front, and just his car was awful. I mean, it was, and Slate's car was really good. And I was sitting at home, my wife's with me, and I'm play-by-playing it, and I'm about 2 or 3 laps ahead, telling my wife what's going to happen. And when they got into it, it was so good I didn't have a microphone in front of me. But it is not an easy job to do what you guys do, and I would imagine you have to have a really good partner with you to help with the ebb and flow, to know when you're trailing off of a topic, for him to pick up and take the baton for a little bit. And I've listened to you guys before with the cars stuff, and you do such a good job. And Flo has done a good job, I feel like, with the announcers that they have. I think Bob does a great job with Smart. Bob's been around for a long time. I can hear sometimes when I'm outside flying the drone, I can hear Bob's excitement from inside, coming down to a checker flag or something. And I'll look over there, and he's hands on the desk, up on his toes, like he's in it, man. Like he's living it with the viewer. And that's not, you can't fake that. And the excitement that you guys bring gets the viewer excited. And to your point about being able to do something you love, man, that's a dream.
Yeah, and I mean, so I think it was Benny Parsons who said, like, if you got to work with someone in that capacity, you got to be best friends with them. So I've tried to approach everyone who I've been paired with this year or in years past is like, all right, let's get to know each other on more than just a surface level, because that is what will make the handoffs and the transitions and all that stuff more seamless. And then on the back end, I know we referenced football earlier, but when we do a race and like, say Car Store race this weekend, Dan Parisi's our producer all year long, and I love working with Dan.
He's a hoot.
Yeah, he's former 2-wheel guy. He used to do motorcycle racing for Speed Channel back in the day, producing those shows. And Jared Sells is doing replay this week. Like, just all really good people. And luckily on the Flow side, it's the same people every week. So we go into it with a game plan and approach. And honestly, it just like in anything in live sports, it'll never go from start to finish exactly how planned.
No.
But when we're done and we step out and go down to the truck and we debrief for a couple minutes while everyone's starting to strike, we have nights where we're like, all right, that could have been better. Cuts could have been cleaner. I could have been better in the booth. The nights where it's like, that was a good show, there's no better feeling, because we're all in agreement. Like, everyone did their best job. We covered every story. We talked about everyone in the field. We didn't miss a wreck. We didn't miss the finish. There's no better cohesive working feeling. It's probably the same. I would imagine similar to winning a race.
Yeah.
When your crew chief knows they made the right call, your spotter got you through whatever they needed to, and you did your job.
Right.
It's way more satisfying than just going to work, doing what's expected, and coming home. I don't get what I get out of doing these races anywhere else.
There needs to be a reality show on the behind the scenes of a production, so that people could hear Dan all through a race.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you hear the same thing that I hear, but oh my God, he kills me. But just like the banner between all the cameramen and everything that's going on, it's hilarious. I mean, it is absolutely hilarious. But I keep saying this. I never realize what goes into a production until you get behind and you see it.
Yeah.
And it's just, there are so many moving parts. And I think Flow sometimes gets a bad rap because there might be like signal issues or whatever. But people have to keep in mind it's a streaming service. It's not Fox TV.
Right.
It's a streaming service.
Yeah.
And there's signal involved. There's a whole bunch of different
Well,
things.
and a lot of the tracks that we're at are in the middle of nowhere. and
yeah,
stuff
like you go to
that.
Franklin County.
Franklin
and,
County.
I mean,
Even Caraway is hard
yeah,
to pick up.
Caraway. Yeah, I got to
so-
get up on top of the press box, get cell service. But I think Flow does a great job. Clearly, they reach out and get good talent. They get good people. And we're lucky as fans to be able to have the broadcast because, 5 years ago, there were a lot of these races that weren't even televised.
Right.
And some of the growth was smart and cars. And
Yeah.
a lot of that is due to the broadcast. It's quality. People want to see quality. They feel like a Cars Tour, a smart race is better racing than what they see on Sunday. And I think that's because, to your point, the people make it happen.
Yeah, and the people at Flow, they care a lot. Joe Baker heads up that group now, and he was really integral in the opportunity that I got to do Snowball Derby last year. And this year I have a good friend of mine who's getting married that weekend. So I reached out to Joe end of the summer and was like, hey, Joe, just kind of want to see if what you said about leaving my calendar open, if that was still on the table. And he's like, we're bringing everyone back that we had last year because it went so well. Unfortunate for my friend that I have to do this race. The Snowball Derby's biggest pavement late model race of the year. But between Joe, Chris McKee, who he's usually present for smart races and with Cars Tour races, there's just a lot of care from top to bottom. There's not anyone in that org chart that we deal with or talk to or interact with who doesn't care about the product and doesn't care about who they're staffing and doesn't care about the racers.
Right.
The content team too does a great job, whether it's Rob Blount or when Matthew Dillner steps away from the mic at Bowman Gray to go do some content stuff at the smart races, the packages they put together on people. That's how we build star. That's a big talking point right now about Cup is, we don't have superstar power right now for a lot of drivers, if any. Even on the home track level, I feel like Flow is doing a lot of the things that help make, Burt Myers a household name. It was already, or some of these young drivers coming up, like Luke or Paulie. If you get them out there more and get them in front of the people more, they'll start to be a more second nature response when even your average fan hears their name. So I love what Flow does in that space. They invest a lot of time in doing a lot of special stories on teams, drivers, and tracks. And I got a peek at some of the production stuff they're doing for Snowball, and it's pretty wild. I think this year is going to be even better.
Well, just their willingness to step outside the block of normal, just like including the drone with stuff.
Yeah.
It's all about the show. It's all about what can we put out there for our audience to enjoy. And that's the thing I've always taken from everybody. And one of my questions I want to ask you is, and we've kind of circled it, is what is the ultimate goal for a broadcast? Like you as a broadcaster, what is your ultimate, big picture goal?
I have a bit of so if we're talking about a race, I want to talk about every driver at least once. I want, and I'm a big proponent of full field starting grid for the reason that, I'm happy that you ran that race at Martinsville, because if I was to pull up your racing reference resume, the Clash not included, it didn't show you at a Cup start, so you ran that race at Martinsville.
Right.
I hope you get to run more, but if that is the one time that you get to run or someone else finally gets there, what they've been working for their whole life, they finally get to that. I know a guy who ran in the factory stock at Wall Stadium, Scott Riggleman. He said his ultimate dream, if he won the lottery, he wants to make one ARCA start at Pocono. And if he was to be able to make that happen, he deserves to have his name mentioned on. And sometimes the way that these shows are built, it's not possible. You're almost too tight on time with pace laps and, sponsor commitments and, pre-race pit reports you want to get in. It's like from an orchestration standpoint, it's not always feasible. But to me, that's the one time and one chance someone could be guaranteed to have their name said on TV for a race. So if we can do it on the Cars Tour side and we have enough time, we try to make it happen. When you get to some of the more, network stuff where there's a lot more bells and whistles, it's a little bit harder. I think if everyone could be mentioned at least once, if we can capture every story, if we go in with a plan of stories, like I try to brief with every driver that I can before we go. Andy Jankowiak on the ARCA side, he's a good example because usually he'll come run an ARCA race, then he'll hightail home and he'll have 3 more races scheduled for that weekend.
He's a character.
Yeah, and I'll say, tell me where you're running. Like I want people to know that like you're not just showing up, running an ARCA race, and then going home. If we could hit all of the storylines that we plan to touch on or talk about, and if we could just tell the proper story and do the race justice. I think for the people on the back end, they want to make sure the cuts are clean, the direction's clean, and the producer job, the whole world could be burning behind them. And normally they are the ultimate filter to not allow the talent to hear that.
Right.
When I was in Phoenix, I got to shadow the Cup qualifying production. I got to sit in the truck. They had a pit producer there who he basically works with the pit reporters directly. And then if they have a story to tell, the pit producer will lean over and grab the producer director and say, hey, Caitlin has this. And they'll try to tee up the toss and line up that her mic is ready. They got a camera ready for what she's about to talk about. The coordination on that level, that was the first time I'd ever seen it. And I fully understood that when you have good days, they feel really good. And if you have not so good days, they don't feel really good because it's so many moving parts and pieces. So I think to answer your question, walking out knowing that everyone did their part and did their job, having that idea that you've ran the perfect playbook, executed, and even though we're not trying to win anything or accomplish anything, we have our own independent goals. If we check all those boxes, I think that's the ultimate goal.
You know what I'd like to see? And I don't know how it would work because you run all the races. But let's just say, I don't know, you had to get your pinky toe amputated and couldn't race for a race. Even though I know you find a way. I know.
I still race.
But let's just say for whatever happened. You would do, and I don't say this because we do this together or we're friends, but just because you're very comfortable with a microphone in front of you, TV camera, whatever, you would be really good as a guest announcer during a race. If
I'd rather be running the race.
I know, but I'm saying, like where you're at your best, and a lot of our fans don't see this, is when you're unfiltered and you have an opinion. 3/4 of what you say, I wish we could put out there. I mean, not even just like opinions about people. I mean, like, race strategy and, what's permissible and what's not and stuff like that. Like, I've always said you should have been an attorney. Because your ability to form an argument that the sky's not blue and the water's not wet, half the people will believe it because you make a good argument. But I would love to see you have a filterless opportunity as a guest. I mean, it would be best for modified.
Right in line with my book.
Yeah, I know.
I have to be, after I quit racing, then I'm going to write a book. And
I want to invest in when it's time for you to write a book.
Maybe instead of the book, we do a series instead, right?
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
I think you need to start writing that book now because I don't want you to ever quit racing.
Well, I don't want to either, but I kind of remind myself all the time I need to be writing some of this stuff down because I'll forget it.
I'm getting there now.
Yeah, I'll forget it one day. But I want to say this before we get done. You said that you would love to be able to call the ARCA race at Daytona. I'd love to be able to run the ARCA race at Daytona. So hopefully both of our goals will come true this year.
That would be a great storyline.
I think.
I mean, seriously,
so I'm qualified
be,
for in a cup car. I'm qualified for a mile and a half. I mean, is it a mile and a half now? Yeah, I'm qualified for a mile and a half. But I did test the ARCA car at Daytona for NASCAR. That deal that NASCAR did, but being the champion in 24. And I know ARCA's rules are a little different on qualifications and whatnot. So I'm pretty sure I'd be qualified to run that race.
I think even if not, they have the December test every year. I think you just have to go run that.
Yeah.
That's what you did.
That's what I did. Yeah. They did for the past champions. Me and Austin Beers and several of us, we were able to go down there and do the ARCA
do we have
test.
a gentleman's agreement that if you go, you promise that he gets to go? And if you go, you promise he gets to go?
Man.
It's on the record.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
right.
I'd love to run a race it. And I would, I mean, like, when we talk about the cup stuff, obviously, if I didn't think I was the best, nobody else will either, right? And I know that God's blessed me with the ability to drive a race car, but I also am humble enough to realize that when you jump in a series like Cup, that those guys have been doing it, and they live it, and they do it every weekend, and they're very accustomed to the circumstances. For me to think that I'm going to jump in a top-notch cup car and go to Daytona and win. I know that's big dreams.
Yeah.
But I do think that if it was a good car in an ARCA race at Daytona, man, I really think I could win the race. I really do. I think that I've always been a thinker. I'm always planning ahead. I'm always watching lap cars at the other end of the straightaway. And I think that a lot of that would come into play at somewhere like ARCA, at Daytona, where you have to be, it's not just about hitting your marks or either just going wide open. It's about planning out your strategy
Right.
and knowing what's coming next. So I'd love to do that, man.
Yeah,
I'd love to do that.
I would love to see you do that, whether I'm there or not.
Yeah,
you know?
well, thanks. But
And if it happens, you just gotta. I think they wadded up 12 of them on lap 4 this year.
I know, right?
That's the scariest
That's the biggest
part.
thing. And I even thought about it. You know, your best. You either need to be in the very front or the very back.
Yeah,
What's the guy's name? Cletus McFarland.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, he kind of he had a good opportunity,
Yeah.
good run, and I think he's really good with motorsports. I think that clearly he doesn't have the experience, everything that you've got, and he did relatively well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think ARCA at Daytona every year, it seems like it's a stacked field with
gotta
a
miss
lot of up and comers. Like
Yeah.
that's where a
Yeah.
lot of them are going to get their
Yeah,
sign
but I'll
off
be
for
honest,
trucks
a lot of
or
those
whatever
guys
else.
that are up and comers who haven't experienced and haven't been through it are the ones that end up
Yeah.
on the hook.
Yeah.
I mean, be honest. Let's be honest. So anyway, I just had to throw that in there. I hope both of us get to go to.
yeah. If we
Daytona
both end up
run
down
on
there,
there.
we'll definitely have a drink or two when the day's
Yeah,
over.
absolutely.
Maybe we'll do an on-site podcast.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Devin,
and just to be clear, I don't have anything in the works. So if
Yeah,
anybody out
yeah.
there can make it happen, I'd love to have a conversation about it for sure.
Which that's what they say. If you want something to happen, put it out there.
Yeah.
And
The closed mouth doesn't get fed.
for Phoenix, I had heard that Jamie Little's schedule with doing IndyCar stuff was going to probably take her away from some ARCA races. I didn't know how much more. And Jamie's been really, really good to me. So with Phoenix, like 3 weeks out, I was saying to my wife, man, I really hope I get a chance to do that. And then I started like writing like a bit of an intro, and I wrote like a little track fact descriptor on Phoenix, and I'd be shaving in the morning, like just kind of practicing my on camera, like welcome to Phoenix Raceway. And it's all weird things to admit. And it was that Thursday after I did that, while I was shaving, I got a text from someone, hey, could you do ARCA Phoenix for us?
You wished it into fruition.
And I said to my wife, I was like, I swear, I feel like I manifested this to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a man of faith, and I'm very spiritual in that sense. And so you could bet that I've started doing my Daytona prep, even though I have no guarantee I'm doing that race.
That being said, there are no coincidences. You know, everything happens for a reason. Just the same way we're talking about how my path, and I used to say when I'd lay in the bed, I can remember laying in the bed looking at the ceiling and close my eyes and say, God, just please let me make it. Just please let me make it. In my mind, I thought that meant be Jeff Gordon. I've made it in ways that I didn't think was what my mind wanted at the time, but I've realized now that this was, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing. And I've always joked about, I think, had I got what I wanted at that time, maybe God thought I couldn't handle it. He's like, no, you're not ready for that. So who knows where I'd be or what would have happened to me if I would have got the path I thought I wanted. But God knew what I needed, I guess. And obviously we all want to be rich and, have everything we need. But guess what? I get to race on the weekends. My bills are paid. I got a roof over my head. I'm going to eat supper tonight.
Don't forget to mention your wife.
Yeah, well, she's a part of that. She knows she's a big part of that story.
That's a friend right there.
That's when you're
She
supposed.
knows she's a big part of that
That's
story.
when you're supposed to say, and I outkicked my coverage
and
with
then
my wife.
I wouldn't have met Kim. If I'd have got a ride back then, I wouldn't have met Kim. Philip Smith wouldn't have took me through the drive-through at the bank and said, hey, I want to introduce you to this girl. That wouldn't have happened. And therefore, I wouldn't have met Lauren. I had Jade already, but we wouldn't have had Slate together. So just to think about Slate coming up and racing, and Jade works at NASCAR Institute. Lauren is a nurse at Duke and is getting ready to go back to school to be an anesthesiologist. Man, just how proud I am of my family and where I'm at. And
That's making it.
I wouldn't change a thing, man.
That's making
I
it.
really wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
as we start to wrap up at North Wilkesboro, when can people start to catch the broadcast? What time's the broadcast going to start? Have they decided that yet?
So I think we're going to go Friday at 5 to air qualifying for all.
Okay.
So I think the plan is 5 to 7 will be
Okay.
about the window we hope to get qualifying in for everyone. And it'll be Cars Tour and Smart Tour. I saw they got Derek Perniciglio on pit road. That's awesome.
I know he was at Tri-County on pit road.
Yeah, so it'll be I
that's
think
cool.
Derek and Pike kind of working together. On Saturday, I know we're going to be there at 9 for a pre-production meeting. I believe the racing starts at 1. We'll probably come up before that. Don't know if we're going to do like a formal pre-race show, but we usually like to have a 15, 20, 30-minute lead-in, especially if we got 2 pit reporters. We could talk to a lot of people before the show gets going.
What's the race order?
It's supposed to be Cars Tour Pro Late Models, Smart Modified Tour, and then Cars Tour late model stocks.
Okay. And the green flag for the first race.
I believe it's 1 o'clock.
I think it's
May need to
1.
fact check me on that.
Yeah, I think it's 1 o'clock. I know that our race was projected to be around 3,
Mm-hmm.
so that tells me 1 o'clock's probably pretty close for the first race. So
Well, Devin will do Devin stuff and double check it and make sure when this airs that maybe he can put up a
yeah,
little.
I
blurb up
want
there.
to mention a few things leading up to this weekend. So Slate picked up Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet
Saw that.
last weekend
That's
at
very cool.
Tommy Cross and for Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet. He's actually they've piggybacked for this weekend as well. So I want to thank them. Clint Johnson HVAC is a company based up in that Wilkesboro area. They came on board with Slate again or for this weekend too. So they're new. Stalem garage door service was on Slate's car. I think for Ace is when it was Gary Bills when he came on board. I remember Gary, we grew up together and then not together. He helped my dad and then he helped some other people, but I've known Gary my whole life and get a phone call yesterday. He knew the garage door in the old body shop was messed up. He called me yesterday, said, hey man, we got to slow down. We'll come fix your garage door. So Gary came and so they've been helping Slate a little bit. The other one that's going to be new this weekend is not new to me necessarily, but C3 Power Washing that was on the car.
Casey's back.
Casey's back. So Casey
Cool
was
cat.
the main sponsor for the race at Martinsville.
Yep.
And I talked to Casey, and C3 is going to be on the car for North Wilkesboro this weekend. And I think him and his wife and our significant other, though I think they did get married, didn't they? I don't remember. I'm sorry, Casey, if I got that wrong. But anyway, they got they're bringing their family and I think some friends and whatnot. So excited to see Casey again and
Can't
be a part of
miss
that.
him.
Yeah. So cool dude, really
Yeah.
cool dude. And all that being said, I got to give a special shout out to Mark Joyce. He does all my decal work. And so every one of those people was, hey, Mark, can you cut me a decal?
Yeah.
Hey, Mark, can you cut me a decal? So I actually called him again this morning. Hey, I know I've put a lot on you. I need a C3 decal. I picked up the other decals yesterday. He said he'll have the other one ready today. So
That's
special
awesome.
thanks to Mark Joyce. And he said he was actually printing. He said, I'll do it this afternoon because I'm printing a smart banner right now. So he does all the smart stuff too. So those are the people, man, that behind the scenes, look, the sponsorship's great. And I love the partnerships. And we've talked about before, I don't call it a sponsor. I call it a partner. Because I love to build a relationship. And like, for example, I want to see how much I can help these people get exposure. Mark Joyce is kind of the guy in the corner in the shadows. That's the silent guy that nobody ever really hears about. But Mark Joyce, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing to help these people get exposure. So just made my little note here, or you made my little note for me. Thank you. But anyway.
Here for you.
But yeah, not to mention Citrusafe and Choice and the NASCAR Institute. Well, it's UTI now. Just so many people that, man, here we're going to wrap up the season. It's hard to believe it's going to be the last one of the year. So,
Are you doing North-South Shootout?
don't know. I know. I'll put it to you this way. I know Jason is doing the North-South Shootout. We've had a kind of some unexpected setbacks this year. And with Slate racing too, and Slate's had some damage, and I've had some damage, and trying to run. Basically, we ran 2 teams out of a budget and a half. So you kind of racing's like going to the casino. Okay, you say, all right, I got $1,000. I'm going to the casino. You may walk out of there without that $1,000, or you may walk out of there with $2,000. But it's a gamble you take every single week. And so there's been a lot of times where we shot craps and lost during the racing season this year. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, you know me. I mean, we're going to try to do everything we can. But for right now, we're focused on North Wilkesboro this weekend and getting that victory that we've haven't had all year on the Smart Tour. So, yeah.
I think you're dialed in. I mean, from the past couple of races, I think the cars.
I think we're going to be good. I mean,
go.
there's 30
think-
cars. So
I think
one
Eric's
guy can ride the elevator. So.
I think Eric's going to have a lot to talk about. I hope he's talking about the Citrusafe car riding the elevator. That'd be really, really nice. But as always, we want to thank you all, our audience. We enjoy doing this, but we enjoy it because we always get great people in here. And, Eric was talking about it earlier about how he gets to get out and meet all these people and all that. And that's what we enjoy.
Yeah.
I want to personally thank Citrusafe Cleaners for providing us with this really nice studio. All of Bert's stuff, Slate's stuff, George Phillips' stuff. I think there's smart stuff. I don't know if there's smart stuff on there.
I know that was in the works.
We were talking about it, but
yeah.
all of their swag is on racefangear.com. The small die cast and the big die cast
I think
are on
so.
there.
Yep.
Plus,
we'll have those at the racetrack too. We'll have a limited supply of shirts and hats and stuff because we're down here at the end of the season.
Right.
There's a limited supply of that, but we do have the 164 and 124 die cast. We will have those for sale at the racetrack too. Okay. So. Yeah, if you want one of those, go to racefangear.com and pick them up or either come see us at the racetrack.
Yeah, and you'll obviously autograph them.
Yeah, for sure.
And one more thing, and then we'll get out of here. For all you deer hunters out there, we're getting ready to hit the most magical month of the year, and that's November. Many of you may not understand that here at Bryson Industries, we make a whole line of scent control products called a LimaShield Hunt. And it's all science-based. It's legitimate technology. It's not 98% water. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it at select bow shops. You can find it, Lancaster Archery has it, and select Ace Hardware stores. If you have any questions about it, reach out to us on social media. I run all the social media for that brand. But what I would encourage you to do, it's very simple. Go to Amazon, order a bottle of the LimaShield Hunt core body foam. Get it in, take a shower, put it on as deodorant. I want you to go 3 days without a shower. And when you see that at the end of that third day, you still have no body odor, you will then see how our science works. And those deer hunters will understand this is something that I need. Any questions that you have, reach out. It's an amazing product. All the pictures are starting to roll in now. The big deer everybody's killing using our products. So probably won't see me in November because I'll be in a tree stand somewhere. But LimaShield Hunt is a phenomenal product, just like everything else here, Citrusafe. So make sure and check that out if you're a deer hunter. Eric, thank you very much for taking time out of your day and coming in.
Thank you guys.
We were the lucky ones being literally graced with your presence. I've enjoyed your story.
I mentioned pathways and relationships and stuff. I'm really lucky to have met Bert with the smart opportunity. Like I said, when I met you, you were the short track hero that I knew you to be. To have a friendship with you now, and Philip, you too. Being able to work with you for some of these car store events that we're lucky to have you at, but also the friendship. It means more than I could ever say.
100%. Well, this weekend's gonna be a big weekend. Good luck.
Yes, sir.
Good luck to you and Slate.
Yep. I hope there's a Myers riding the elevator.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. The elevator. Yeah, you got to get a win this year. So keep an eye out on Flow Sports this weekend. Big weekend with racing. Now you know a little bit more about Eric. You'll appreciate what he does a lot more. You know way too much about Bert already. But we appreciate you watching. Please drop us a like. Please drop us a follow. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Facebook. Yep. Thank you, Devin. I'll get it right one of these days. But we appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you next time. We'll probably have a season wrap-up. I think we've got a couple more guests that we're trying to...
There's some couple... there was a couple that big-time NASCAR auto racing is getting ready to wrap up, too. So I'm hoping that some schedules will free up after that.
But we do have good guests coming up next week. I guess it's okay to say who it is? We'll just wait, just in case.
Let's wait, yeah.
It's very good. It will be a very entertaining, informative podcast. We'll say that.
He's it's a little different. It'll be a little different. It'll be a little different. It's somebody that
but I'm intrigued by it because of
it's
the
funny
behind the scenes stuff.
From where I'm at, it's somebody on the other side of the fence.
Yes.
So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Good guy. We're very appreciative he's coming. So next week will be good. Good luck again, Eric. Thanks. Thank you again. Yep. And we will see you all next week.